Okay, guys. So we'll discuss the quiz question answers now. So the first question. So this term refers to an individual item in a list. So what is it? You guys can answer.
Element.
Element.
Element. Good. Right. Second question. This is a number that identifies an item in a list.
Index.
Good job. So this is the first index in a list.
0.
0.
0. That's the right answer. The list always starts with 0. So this is the last index in a list.
Wouldn't it be the size of the list minus 1?
Yeah.
Good job. So if we have 5, so it will end at 4, right? 5 minus 1, 4. Why is that? Why it ends with minus 1?
Because it starts with 0.
Good job, guys. Okay. Question number 5. This function returns the length of a list.
C.
C, len, correct. Number 6. This list method adds an item to the end of an existing list.
Append.
Append, option D. Good. Question number 7. This removes an item at a specific index in a list.
Remove.
C.
Yeah, option C, del. The remove will just remove an item, right? It will not look for an index. If you want to remove something at a specific index, it's del command.
I have a question. Couldn't it also be like pop?
You can, yes, but of these 4, del is the correct one, correct?
Oh,
Correct. Pop and del are used interchangeably. The del also does one thing extra. What it is? Can anyone tell?
What's the question?
Delete the list.
The del removes the item at a specified index, okay? The del also does one more thing. When you tell del the list name, what happens?
Deletes the entire list.
Exactly. So pop will just remove the item based on the index, but when you use the del command and give the list name without any index, it just deletes the whole list. Yeah. So good. So question number 8. So this is a list. So which of the following statements would you use to add the string Labrador to the list at index 0? So which is the right answer?
B.
B. Correct. So it says mylist.insert and you are giving the index number here, which is 0 and the value. So this is the correct statement. Okay. Okay, question number 9. So numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Print numbers from -4 to no value mentioned. So what's the answer?
A.
A is the right answer. So I see someone tell D, so let me explain that. Okay, so what it does is this is what? This is the start of the range that you want to print. After colon is the end of the range. So when there is nothing given, it will run until the end of the whole list, right? So when it is -4, so it's this is -1, -2, -3, and -4. It will start at 5 and run until the whole list is there. So 5, 6, 7, 8. If I don't give that colon, so then I'm asking for the -4th element, which is 5. Clear? Any doubt?
I have one doubt. Can you put the colon on the other side of the -4? Or would that not work?
What? Can you repeat?
Can you put the colon on the other side of the -4? Or would that not?
You mean the beginning, right? So then what it means is, so on the starting there is no value. The list will start from the very beginning, and then it will run up until this number -1.
Oh, okay.
One position before it. So it will print 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the colon is a range. So this specifies the start, and after the colon specifies the end. Okay. Okay. So question number 10, I think this should be easy. So letter A, B, C, D. What's the value stored in letters of 2? What it is?
C.
0, 1, 2, C. Yes, that's the right answer. Okay. Good job.
Oh, one question, sorry. For number 9, is there any way you can like print 4, 3, 2, 1 or anything like backwards?
For number 9, what is that?
Is there any way you could like print like 4, 3, 2, 1 like backwards?
You mean option C?
Yeah, like that.
So give option C, then say you have specified what number you want to start with.
Yeah.
I want to start at where? So there's a command called reverse. Okay, we'll talk about that today.
Oh, you can use that one.
The reverse function is there, right? So when you use that, it will print a reverse statement. Okay.
Okay, I forgot.
Okay. Okay, guys. So that's about quiz. So let's jump on to today's session. Finish the quiz. So we'll do a recap. So far what we have learned, right? So on the first class, we learned about all the various data. What did we learn about? Anyone? I forgot. So we learned for loops, while loops, what is Python. We learned about strings, variables, and all, right? So in the second class, we learned about different data types. Then we learned about collections in Python. We learned about list and how to add, remove, or how to process the list and other list operations like list add, list join, and everything. So based on that, so I would like to let's start with the class example. So we'll see a real-time example of how we can use what we have studied so far. So that way you guys can understand how all things fall in place. Okay. So before that, I wanted to tell one thing. I think in last class we talked about formatting, right? And I said that all those materials will be updated in the class lecture notes, which we did not. So I have included that in today's session notes. Okay. So in today's lecture notes, all the formatting is there. So I've put in that as a first topic, so you guys can refer. So okay. So the first example I would like to solve today. So remember, so this example will incorporate everything that we have studied so far. Okay, so do not constrain yourself to just the last class. Just think through from the very beginning of what all you have learned. Okay, so we are going to do a program. Okay, so this is called it's called the program as temperature converter. Okay, so this is the criteria of the program. So what I'm telling is I want to convert a Celsius to Fahrenheit. So I'm also giving you the formula for how to convert a Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay. So the program should ask the user to enter temperature in Celsius, and we will convert it and show the value in Fahrenheit. Okay. So we are going to learn something new about here is data validation. Okay. So what is data validation? So if a program requires input, right? So we are going to ask user to enter an input, right? So we learned so far, like you're going to enter input, enter number. So what if someone enters a wrong input? Like you assume that your program will get the number 5 and do that. But what if someone enters an invalid character? They go on and enter a negative number, right? So we don't know how the program will respond to. In some cases, it will give you a wrong result, or in some cases, the program may error because say it's expecting an integer, but the user types in a word. So the program is not going to convert it. So it's going to have a conversion error and it's going to fail. So to avoid all those things, so to avoid this data to cause computation errors, we do something called as data validation. Like when we get the user input, we validate it. So is that user input correct? So is this like within our range? So here I'm telling I want the range of -60 and it has to be less than -60 and more than, it should not be more than 200 Celsius. So this is the condition for which we are going to write a program. So is the question clear, like what we are trying to do? Is that clear, or do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. So let's start with this. Okay, so the first thing is obviously we need the user input, right? So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to get the user input. So how do you get the user input? So we use this input variable, right? So I just need to assign this to some variable. So I'm telling temp C. Temp C is nothing but a temperature that is in Celsius. Okay, so that way I could store the whatever the user gives in. I'm going to store. So I'm going to tell input enter temperature in Celsius. So this is my first step. But if you think through this, so if you think through this, so what's going to happen is I want this to be a float integer, okay? Because I'm gonna, this is because the temperature can have decimal places. So I'm doing a conversion so that I could do calculations on it. So that's my first step, okay? So now what it is, so here I said, right? So I got the user input, now I have to do the data validations, correct? So now I have to verify if the temperature is within this range. So how would you do that? So we could do, this is more, if you say data validation, this is more of criteria check, correct? You are just validating the string, you are just validating an expression. And if it's correct, you're going to do something. If it's wrong, you're going to do something else. Okay, so I'm going to tell if temp C is less than minus 60, correct? That's what I wanted. Or temp C is greater than 200. What am I going to tell? I'm going to print, I'm going to tell user invalid input. Make sense so far? So this way I'm making sure I'm not getting an incorrect value as an input from the user. If the condition is correct, like, you know, if no, this is correct, the range is correct, then go do my processing logic. So go do whatever I want to do. I'm going to do the temperature calculation in the if logic. Any question how we are? So this is how in the real time how this if else class plays when you are writing the program. Okay, if you have any questions, stop me then and there. Okay, so I just want you to understand that the whole as a program. So going forward, we'll have a homework and we'll be solving many programs as such. It will not be like a one-liner statement. It will be more of like this. I just want you to understand the concept of how we go. Okay. If it is correct, what are we going to do? Simple, right? We are going to do this formula. So I'm going to tell temperature of F is equal to 9 by 5 into temperature C, whatever the temperature of the user has given, plus 32. So now, whatever the temperature the user gives, I've converted this to Fahrenheit. So now I want to print it. Print temp F. What's wrong? I missed this colon as usual. And here. Guys, no one pointed me that I'm missing a colon. So what will happen now? So if I give the correct value, let's say I'm going to give 10 degrees Celsius. So the output is now 50 degree Fahrenheit. So the program ran. So what happens if I give a wrong value? So let's say I'm giving 210. So it says invalid input. So now the program did not go through. So if we don't have this validation, right? So if I don't have this validation, say this might cause an issue or something will go ahead, right? So this is how you stop the program from executing in case if the error is wrong. So if you need more, what do you call it? So this is temp F, right? So if you need this to display in a correct form, a different format, you could do this. So format temp F. So what is the formatting thing is of? So I need after decimal places, I need 1-digit decimal, and I'm formatting a floating point number. So I tell that. So now when I run the code, sorry, I should have given 98.6. So it's converting, but it's giving me only 1 decimal places. You could make it more fancier too, right? That the temperature temperature in Fahrenheit is. So if you do this, so it you show it output in a different manner. Like it's readable and it's, so even this invalid input, you could tell the user enter value between minus 60 and 200. So now your program, like whenever there is an error, so the user sees what's the error, so he knows what to input it.
Could you please zoom in?
Zoom in? Yep, sure. Clear now? Is it better? How do I? Is it okay now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Any questions so far? Clear how we use the data validation and how we are getting the invalid inputs.
I have a question.
Sure.
For after in the else statement, it says format temp comma 0.1f.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like something we have to put, or is it just to like make sure that the temperature just comes in like
Okay.
formatted value?
Okay, you're asking, do I really have to format? Is that the correct question?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just do this. Okay. I'll not format it. I'll just print it as it's not needed, but it depends on how you Okay, so I'm gonna print it without formatting. Say now I'm inputting a value. Okay, I'm telling it's 78 point. So the user input is like this. Okay. So now your temperature in Fahrenheit is 173.42. It goes on, right? But ideally, if you see your temperature, how do you see it? If you just whenever it's seen in weather and everywhere, it's just one decimal place, right?
Yeah.
So that it would look good. It's not that if you cannot do it, but more than this would look good. Agreed? So 173.4 sounds more like a temperature. So it's based on your question. What your question asks for? Since it's temperature, so we always are used to see it 1 degree. It's like 1 decimal places. So I just went ahead and done that.
So what you did was you just you made it like approximate everything, correct? Like
I rounded off to the numbers. Yes.
Okay, got it.
I rounded off to 1 decimal places.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So one announcement. So all of you, could you rename to first name and last name in your chats or in your what is it? So here, so there's names, right? So can you guys put your first name, last name, so that way in your your name, the joining name, the participant name, whatever you call it. So that way, when we are taking attendance, we know who to match up with. If there are people with same name like Arun, we know which Arun we are talking about. Could you guys do that, please? Whoever is having it already, good job. So if anyone is having just the first name, please make it as first name, last name. Okay. So if you want to rename, you'll have to just go here, go to more. There's a rename option, rename it. Okay, let's continue. Can we do our last initial? Guys, everything I said, however you have registered to your portal, I would say that. So how your official registration is, please use that same format. So we are trying to match up the attendance records. So it would be easier if we have the same official names in Zoom versus on your Agora record. Okay. So any questions on this, guys? So we are good. So there is one more thing to it, right? So when I run this program, if I enter a wrong value, okay, sorry. So when I enter a wrong value, the program exits. Now again, I have to run it. So what if you want the user? What if you want to give another opportunity for the user to enter the program? Sorry, enter the value. How would you do that? So when you use if else, so if it's a wrong value, the program exits. it's not giving me another option to enter the value. So if you want to give that option, what would you use in this data validation? Any guess?
You'd place another input sentence or
Okay. But so if you put another input if statement, right? So there is a, you should know how many tries, right? So if you're going to give a user 3 tries, 5 tries, you can do that. But what if you want to give an option to user to enter the value as long as until a correct value is entered? I mean, I want to ask again and again until I see a correct answer. How would you do that?
Can you put an input statement after print invalid input?
Okay, so I could put after the print, but only once, right? What if he does it? You cannot do it, right? So it's gonna just, I'm sorry, but it's not gonna validate it. Let me show you. So correct. So now let's try it. Okay. So I'm gonna tell 210. It's invalid. I'm gonna again do 210. Now I'm gonna do 211. That's it. The program comes out of it. Correct. So what we can do is we can do a while statement. Correct. So while the value is right, wrong, do this. We can do that. And so let me show you how to do that. Okay. So what's the while loop statement? So I'll get the input, then I'll come here, then I'm going to tell while temp C or temp is this, invalid input. Now get the input. So will this work? Let's try. So I'm going to enter 210 now. So it says invalid input. Now it's again asking the temperature. I'm going to tell 210. It's again going to ask because I said if the value is not correct, if the value is not within the range, go ask again and again. So until I get the right value, I'm going to continuously get this question. So say the moment I enter a right value, it will go ahead, it will process and it will give me the output. So if statement will validate once and then it will exit out of the program. So it will just do one validation or maybe twice, thrice, like for a fixed number of tries. Like if you want to give them 3 tries, 3 times they could input the value. You can ask the users, then you could exit. So I'm using here, so I'm just telling until this value is correct, this while loop will keep on executing. So that is another way to do it. Okay, it's the same program, but different way of getting data input validations. Any questions? Clear? Okay, I take that as a yes.
Yes.
Okay, good job. Okay, so we'll see, similarly, we'll see another program, just so that you guys can, similar way, but a different format. Okay, so this is nothing but a BMI calculator. Okay, so I'm going to get the user's body weight and then calculate the BMI, body mass index, using the program. So do you want me to do, or do you guys want to try it out first? How about you guys try it first? So we'll give like 5 minutes, 10 minutes for you to try. Then let me know. We'll solve it all together. Sounds good? So this is my question. So this is my formula. Okay, so weight is in pounds and height is in inches. So you ask the user to get the weight, input the weight and the height. You get the user inputs as weight and height. Then once you get that height and weight value, you're going to use this BMI conversion formula. Then based on the value, we are just going to print if they are underweight or optimal or overweight. You guys want to try it out?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll just give like some time for you to try. Otherwise, we'll try it online.
Excuse me?
Mhm.
This is Sahasra. Could you just go up and show the first code for just a second?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, just a second. Okay, here is the code, and
Thank you. You can go back down.
okay. Okay, so I'm going to start solving here. So if anyone has problem, can follow me here, okay? So I'm just doing a print, welcome to BMI calculator. Then I'm going to do height. So just telling, I just need the height as a float variable because I'm going to do a calculation. So input, enter your height in inches. Okay, I'm asking the user to enter. Now, similarly, I need the weight. So even the weight, I want it as a float variable. So I'm asking input, enter your weight in pounds. Okay, so this is user input. So now I'm gonna calculate BMI. So
You
we have already.
Excuse me.
Sure.
On the weight one, you spelled float wrong.
The weight I spelled float. Okay, thank you. So BMI is equal to, I have the formula there, right? So this is my formula. And whatever value I have, I'm gonna print. Your BMI is, BMI.
I think you're missing a parenthesis for the formula.
Right. Thank you. So let's do until this. So your height in inches, 55, 55. So it's printing me a BMI. So the BMI is like going so far. I'm going to format it. I could do it as next line as another variable, or I could simply do it here. Format, comma, what is it? I need 2 decimal places or 1 decimal place. So this looks better. So now I have my BMI. So the next part of the question is, it's telling me based on the BMI, I want to display whether it is optimal weight, underweight, or overweight. And this is the range. So 18.5 to 25, 18.5 and less than 18.5 or greater than 25. So this is a pure if-else statement, right? So I'm just going to start here. So I'm going to tell you BMI is less than what? Less than 18.5. So BMI is less than 18.5. Print underweight. Okay, so you could put the whole big text, whatever you want to print, your underweight or your weight is optimal, whatever. Your weight is underweight, you could print it. I'm just going to keep it simple for the sake of time. So LF BMI is greater than How much? If it's greater than 25, it is overweight. Otherwise, it's the optimal weight. Okay, so that's it. End of the program. Let's run it. Okay, what did I miss? If BMI colon BMI 25. 65, I'm giving. My BMI is 10.8. What happened? BMI less than. What's wrong with BMI?
Usually the error is at the bottom, like it says what error you did. Yeah, it says
Yeah,
not.
it says not supported. So I used to. I use this, right? Is anyone else getting this error? Type error. Not supported between instances of string and float. Why is it considering this as a float?
I did integer f because I got that one too, that error.
You have to change it to. I just did it right now. You have to change the height, and instead of putting a float as an input, you have to put a integer.
Here?
Yeah, it doesn't accept like a float.
Okay, let's try.
What I did is I added a line that said BMI equal to float of BMI, and then it worked with float.
Okay, good. So I'm just gonna keep this as float, and here I have to convert this as float, right?
You spelled float wrong.
Come on, I'm typing it right.
For the height also.
Okay, I have to learn this. Okay, 65. Okay, that is it. So here it was float, and I did not do a conversion here. So it was an integer or string, whatever. So when we made this as float, that error is gone. So thank you guys for helping me there. And so we have our BMI calculator. Clear? Any questions? Can we move on to our actual lesson of the day? So I see most of you have posted the codes here, and some of you have used integer instead of float. That's fine too. But since we said it allows until 0.5, I think you'll have to do a float instead of an integer. Check it out if you're getting that correctly. Okay. Okay, guys. So if there are no questions, let's jump on to our class. So I hope this question helps so you could practice similar questions and see how far we are good at. Okay, so in today's class, we are going to see about, let me open the PPT. So we did a recap, or we did a practice solution problems too. So in today's class, we are going to talk about multi-dimensional collections. So before that, we have some more list continuation, like whatever we studied in the last week. Like we talked about list join, list creation, and everything. So we list access, addition, removing, which you guys know. And we have some more methods in list that we are going to talk about today. Okay. So the first one is sorting of list. So when you have a list, say list equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, or it can be any number. Like list can be like list is equal to 8, 9, then 16, then like 21 and all. So if you have to sort the list, so we have some methods that Python allows you to sort. So you could sort it alphabetically if they are numbers, then you can sort it numerically if they are like characters, or name can be something like that. And if you have to sort it in a descending way, like 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So some of you asked, right? So how can I print 4, 3, 2, 1? You could use reverse method too, but you could do sort descending to. Both of them works. So we'll see both of it, how we can use it. Okay. So first one, sort. So sorting of list, right? So let me tell. So this is the list. So list is equal to 100, 500, 533, whatever, 65, then 82. Okay. So this is a list, okay? So I want this list to be ordered in a normal range, like a numerically how I have to order it. So how you do is list dot sort. So this is the syntax to sort. So if I now print this list, so now it prints automatically, it sorts it out and it prints. So similarly, if I have a say I have some fruit names, orange, apple, kiwi. What other fruits do we have? Banana. Right, so this is a list. So I want this list to be ordered alphabetically. Okay, so how you do is similarly when you just use the same sort function, so Python, it knows if it's an integer, it orders it numerically. If it's a characters or strings, it orders it alphabetically. So we don't have to change any command. It's the same command. The system takes care of it by itself. So all you have to remember is sort. So now it's sorting based on this alphabet.
I have a
So
question.
sure.
What if we want to sort it like in reverse order?
Okay. So if you want to sort it in descending order, right? Like
Yeah.
print it reverse.
Yeah.
So this list I've printed as 65 and all, right? So if I need to print it in the reverse order, so use the same thing. So list dot sort. So here you tell reverse equal to true. Okay. So now let's see how this list. So when I said list dot sort, it sorted from lowest to biggest. When I said list dot sort but reverse equal to true, so it printed it from biggest number to the smallest number.
Wait, so does reverse equal true here mean that you have to do a reverse?
Yes, I'm asking it to do a reverse. I'm telling it to sort, and I'm telling it reverse equal to true, meaning do the reverse. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So similarly, if I do the same thing here, so I said new list dot sort, and I'm telling reverse equal to true. Print new list. Okay, so it prints first apple, banana, apple until pineapple in the alphabetical order. Now I said reverse equal to true, meaning sorted, but in the reverse order. So now it's printing pineapple, orange, kiwi, banana in the reverse cycle. Okay, so the same reverse we could also use using the reverse method too. Okay, so how it is this? You could either use this format. It's a two different syntaxes. Okay, just as far as we are concerned, we could either tell like this, like sort and then reverse, or simply tell reverse. What happened now? So first time it printed in the same, it printed alphabetically, then it printed reverse. Now I said reverse again, so it just reversed whatever is the input here. So it just reversed this value back to the correct value. If I do it as a separate thing, just so you guys understand. So this is my list, and I'm telling print it in reverse. So I get this answer, pineapple, banana, door. But I'm getting it in a different order, right? Why is that? Let us try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm getting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But when I do the characters,
Yeah, I
the
think.
reverse.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I said I think it's going in a reverse order because it's doing reverse alphabetically.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. Do you know what's the difference? What happened? Okay. Let me show you guys. So first, let's go here. Okay. So the sort, what it does is it sorts and then reverses it. Okay. So this reverse function, it will just print it reverse. It will not sort it. Okay. If it's like 8, I'll tell you example with the numbers. Then you guys can see it. Okay. 8, 3, 7, 1, and 6. So this is a list. Okay. This is not in any alphabetical order. Okay. So now I said new list dot reverse. So what this does, it just reverse prints it 6, 1, 7, 3, and 8. It does not do a sort. Okay. So this one, it sorts and then prints it in a reverse descending order. But this one just prints it in a reverse order. It does not do the sorting. So that's the difference how this reverse and this reverse works. Are you able to see, guys? You're following me?
Yes.
Okay, so if I do the new L dot reverse print new L, it's just gonna reverse print it. It's just printing pineapple, banana, kiwi, apple, orange in this reverse order. So that's the difference between this reverse and sort reverse equal to true. Okay, good. So the next one we have is min and max functions. So in list, there's another two functions called min and max. So what this min function does is it goes through your whole list, the whole sequence, and finds out which is the lowest value, the lowest number or the lowest alphabet, lowest character or whatever. It prints the lowest value in the whole list as an output. So when you use the max function, it goes through the whole list and prints the highest value in the sequence. Okay, so let me show you the example. So let's see the min function first. So let me tell my list is equal to 5, 4, 250, 70, 34. So this is my list. So if I need to find out which is the smallest number in my list, all I have to do is print min of my list. So which is the smallest number? 5. So if I have to find out which is the biggest number in the list, then you use the max function. So max of the list name. The smallest number is 5 and the biggest number is 200. So this is how you use the min and max functions. Any questions?
No.
Okay, so we saw how to do a sort and how to do a reverse, and we saw about min and max function. So the next one we have in list is called repetition operator. Okay, question to you all. So the star symbol, forget about this repetition operator and everything. What does the star mean in general, like when you have two numbers?
Multiply.
Multiply, right? So when you tell one star 2, it's going to tell you 2. So it's going to multiply and give you the answer. But if the left and the right are list, okay, there is a list in if there is a list as the operand 10, what it becomes is a repetition operator, meaning that list will be cloned, or that list will be multiplied, repeated that many times. So here example, right? The format is like this. So list name multiplied by n. So if you say number 0 star 5, so what happens is like it will create this list 5 times. So it's with 5 elements. Okay, so now you see the list has become 5. The list has now 5 elements. It will repeat whatever is the current value here, that will get repeated for this n number of times. So that's the list operation. Let me show you. That's the repetition operation. So let's see this. Okay, I said number is equal to, so I have a list here. The list is 0, and I'm telling increment this by like 10 times. So now this list will have 0 10 times. It can be anything, 0, 1. So you create a list like this. You just repeat the list with whatever value it is. So whatever is in the current list, that gets like it multiplies like this. So this is how this repetition operator works. So when the operand is a list, this works as a repetition operator. If it's just an integer, then it's a multiplication number. So the star asterisk is used in 2 ways. Okay, so it makes this many copies. The repetition operator, what it does is this, so it takes this list and makes 10 copies of the list and joins them together as a one single list. This is how you see it. So you are just talking about the same list. You're not creating 10 different lists, but whatever is the element in this list gets repeated 10 times, and all is now combined under one list. Okay, so it can be like this, it can be like this. I need 2 copies of this and make it as a list. So it will be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Any question? Okay. So the next one we have is index error exception. So we have seen many, I think we have seen these errors before too, but I just want to call it out separately here. So whenever we access a list using an index, right? So we know the list starts at 0 and it ends at 5 minus 1, or the the length of the list minus 1. We know that, right? So what happens when you, by mistake, when the program refers to an index that is not in the list, you get this error. I'm sure all of you would have seen this. So you would have gotten this index error, list index out of range. So what I'm telling is, so I'm telling here index plus equal to 1, and I'm telling while index less than 5, but the actual index is 0, 1, 2, only until 3, right? So when the 4th time the index goes in, there is no such index that I'm asking it to print. So it will throw this list index out of range error, meaning you're trying to access an index which is not there at all. So this list does not have a 5th element or a 4th element, and we are trying to take access it. That's when we will get this error. In next, after few slides, we'll talk about this index error again with respect to the range. So remember, this morning someone asked me, after the colon, if I don't give a value, what happens? Before the colon, if I don't give a start of the index, what happens, right? So in those cases, what will happen to this index out of range error? So I'll just show you, we'll talk about those in a bit. But for now, this list index out of range means you are trying to access an element or an index which is not part of the list. Okay. So I'm sure you have seen so many other errors, but this is one important error I want you to know. Okay. So far, this is all about list. Okay, so we have talked all about list, how to create, how to join, how to sort, how to reverse, and everything. So I'm just going to show one example like the previous one, how this gets involved in a real time, like how we use this list in a real problem. I'm going to show. Let's see that. Okay. After this problem, we'll have this break. Oops. So are you guys liking solving the problems here in the class? Does it help? Anyone?
Yes, it helps.
Okay. So one person found it helpful. I'll ask Okay, 1 second. Okay, let me see. I have few questions on chat. Let me see. Multiply. Okay, guys. I think you guys are answering on chat, which I'm not even looking at. Sorry, guys. There are so many yes. Thank you for that. Okay. So let's talk about this problem. Okay. So what one best example of like how you would use a list is like imagine you have like a salesperson. Okay, so he is working for like 5 days or like 10 days, and you have to store what his sales was for each and every day, right? On the first day, how much did he sell? On second day, how much did he make? On the third day, how much did he make? The convention or the like the biggest way or big root way to do is what you assign a variable for each day, right? You tell day 1 equal to day 2 equal to day 3 equal to, and you just store it, right? So instead of doing this, you could do it using list. So you just have only one variable, or like what you create a list called day, and you store all 10 values in this list. Okay, so now all of this 10 variable is here, and all you have to do is just access it based on the index values. Correct. So that's one example of how you can use list in a program. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get sales for a person, and then print whatever input he has given. So print the sale of each day. This is the question. So are you guys clear with the question, what we are trying to do? So we are going to get the sale and print it. Okay. So I'm going to tell sales is equal to, first I'm creating an empty list, right? I'm just creating a 0 1 with how many days do you want to talk about? So let's say 5 days of sales. I want 5 days of sales. So if I just print, so what I do here is now I have created a list with 5 days. So now I have to assign values to each of this. This will be the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, and fifth day. I just have to get this input and then enter the value. Okay. So how would I get an user input? I need while index less than 5. So let me tell index is equal to 0. So I'm starting with 0. So while index less than 5, I want I'm asking the user to enter sale for which day? For index plus 1. Okay. Oops. So this one, so you could either write it like this, index is equal to index plus 1, or you could also do this, right? So index plus equal to 1. So it increments and then assigns the value. So both are correct. This is like short way to do it. So now it will ask me to print this, then I didn't get the input. So first day sale is 10, second day sale is 20, third day sale is 30, 40, and 50. So now, so far what I've got is, I've gotten all the values. I've just got the user input. But now I have to assign this value to this index, right? So whatever index we created, I have to assign it. How do you assign the value for the index? So you just tell sale of index. So we already have this value as 0. So first time sale of index, whatever value it comes in, you're just gonna assign it. I'm just converting and saving it in float so that it can have decimal places and everything. You can simply do it here, right? So 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So let me print the list. Okay, guys, I have to print sales, correct. I've printed something else. So this is how you get the user input and assign the value to the indexes. So index 0, the first time it will be index 0, and whatever the user inputs, it will go to 0. Then it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did this all like in one, what do you call, one go. You could get it in another variable and then assign it to. You could do it both ways. Okay, like this. If you guys wanted to be like little clear, a little elaborate on how you do, you could get it like at a temp variable here, then sales of index is equal to temp. You just assign like this, all the same. Okay, any question, guys?
Yeah, one thing. How do these numbers that you enter come in the list? Is it because you put index or?
Yes, I'm assigning, right? So sales is what? Sales is the list,
Yeah.
correct? So I'm assigning the sale of 0. So instead of telling sale of 0, then I'm talking about the first element. If I give 1, I'm talking about the second element. But since it's going in a loop, this index increments, right? So when it comes, it's first time it's 0, it will go until 4. So I'm using this here. Okay. So instead of me coding like if it's 0, then assign it to 0th element. If it's 1, assign it to first element. I'm just giving the value here itself. This will translate as sale of 0, sale of 1, sale of 2, and so forth. So this is where the value gets inside that list. So here, okay, clear for now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if I want to print this? So here it just prints as like whole list, right? So if I have to print this list individually, how would I do? We have to use the for, right? So for value in sales. So now what happens? This for loop will now run through from first element to last element. It will now go loop through the whole list, and now we have that value in value. Then I could tell print value. So now it will print one by one. So it's printing 5, 6, 6, 98. It's now printing one by one. So now that's how this for loop runs. The for loop it iterates through this list and prints each and individual value in that list. Any question? Okay, so good. So this is how we solve problems in list. Okay, if there are no questions, we could go for a 2-minute break, and then we could be back at what's time now? 11? Is it going to be 11? So let's all be back at 11 o'clock. Sounds good? Go drink some water and be back. Meanwhile, if anyone have questions, you could ask me. Is this 8 makes okay. if I give that, now I get Saturday, Sunday. Okay, if I don't give that, if I do this end of list, if I don't give an end of the list, so it will start at Saturday and it will continue until the whole list goes on. So this is nothing but until the end of list. So you have to be careful as what you ask for. Okay. So if there are more elements after that, you cannot leave it blank. If you want just print everything after this, then just you can leave it blank. Clear? So I'll just show you one more. Print. Let's say this. Okay. I'm just going to give a name A. Days of. I want to print until this. For this, right, I said 0 to 5, right? I could simply tell :5 2. It will still print. It will start printing from the beginning up until this index. Understood? So how this empty, how this, if you don't specify the start or the end works. Clear? So this and this is same. So whether if you say 0 up until this index or you don't give a number until this 5 index, it's all the same. It prints from the beginning to the end. So this or this is same. So it will print from 5 until this index number, or it will print up until the end of the number. So this and this is the same. Understood? Confusion? Clear?
Yeah, I just have to clarify. So for the weekend equals day, comma, there's like a blank there. So does it mean that it'll print all the way to like from Saturday all the way to non?
Yes. This one, right? This statement, right? So if the after the colon, if it is blank, okay, if you don't give the end of the index, the Python will use the length, the total length, and it will print until the end. Whatever is the end of the index, it will print.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. If the beginning, if you don't give the start of the index, but you just give the end of the index, it will start from the beginning of the index and print until whatever you have specified. Okay. Okay. So did you notice, like here, if I give a value, let me copy this so I could just show it in a different. So here, if you see, if I specify an index, right? If I tell A equal to days, let me tell. So like 5 and 15. So I'm giving a number 15, correct? But this index does not have a 15. So will it error? It will not. Okay. So here you will not get that index out of range error anything. So if the index is not out of range, if the index is more than what the list has, it will just print until the how many ever number is there, it will print up until that. Okay, it will print until the end of the list. So if this list is out of range, that's okay. Okay. So next we'll talk about filtering of list. Okay. So if you want to filter, say you want to find out only the vowels, you want to find out only like if you want to see, you have like 1,000. Assume you have a class, index named class, okay, and in that index you have stored like 1,000 names, like all the students' name in it, and you want to find out if that student named Sanjeev is in that class or not, right? So you have to now iterate through all the list to find out if Sanjeev is part of this list or not. Okay. So in that case, we use this keyword called in. Okay. So in is the keyword that we use to see if a particular element is there in a list or not. This is the so you just tell like item in list name. This is the syntax. You specify the item that you are searching for. You use the keyword in and you give the list name. This is the list name. So this is how you search for the items. So let's say I have some products. Okay, so I have some products like P1. This is like a user catalog or something, like you have a browser, like you have stored all your products that's available in your store. Okay, this is its barcode number or whatever number you call it. So I have this whole manual here. This is a list. So now your ask is, if you want to find out if the user, whatever the number or whatever the product the user is entering, I want you to find out if that is there, it's available in your store, if it's available as part of your products or not. Okay. So what you do is you get the value from the user first, right? Input, enter, searching product name. Yeah, product name or code. So you're asking the user to enter the value. Okay. I'm just saving that in this variable. Okay, whatever the user is going to input, I'm going to save it in this variable. Okay, now I'm going to find out if search is there in this products list. Okay, I'm going to find out. How do I do that? Simple. If search in products. So this is all. This is the keyword. I'm doing if search in products. So if search whatever this value is in this list, then tell found product. Okay. Otherwise, tell me no product found. So what I'm doing is I have a list here which has all the catalog names, product names in this. Then I'm asking the user to enter whatever he wants to search. I'm asking him to enter, and that one I'm storing in this variable. Now I'm doing this if search in product. So this element now you'll go through the whole list and see if that element exists in this product. If it exists, it will print me found. Otherwise, it will print me not found. Okay. So let me give P123. Oops. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Name product is not defined. Why? Because it's products. So it found this P123 is there. So it went and it found. Now it says print. It printed the found product value. So if I give something else, it's gonna come back and tell no products found. So after this, whatever logic you have, you could continue with this. But this is how you find out if an element exists in a list or not. So this is how you filter it. I mean, if you find it. So if it's true, so why we are using if clauses? If an element exists, if the value returns a true. Otherwise, it will return a false. So since there's a Boolean value involved here, we could use it as part of if else. You could also do it the other way around. Like instead of in, you could also do not in. Okay. You could also do not in. So it will work both. So when you use not in, it's the opposite. If it is not there, you will get a true. If it is there, you will get a false. So it's like any other not in that you have seen so far. So in or not in, you could use based on how you want to use in your code. So if I tell P123, so now it's going to the else part here. Yeah. So I'll just show both here. So this is the example for in and this is the example for not in. Any question, guys? Clear?
This is Gayatri. In the input, what if you put a lowercase p? Like, it would not work. So is there any way to change that?
In input, what?
Like okay. So when you write down the product name to search it, if you put a lowercase p instead of an uppercase, it wouldn't work, right?
Yeah, it looks for like when you search, right? So in our case here, it looks for the exact string. So whatever the string, as far as Python is concerned, this is a string. So it looks for this exact matching, and it just tries to get that value. If it's not there, it's not there.
Okay, so there's no way to change it like afterwards.
There is no way to Change as in, I didn't get your question, sorry. You mean you want to convert it to uppercase by itself?
Not really. It's okay. I got my answer.
Okay. Okay,
Great.
sorry. So if you're talking about P to convert into uppercase, then you could use the upper method to convert it. Like when you get the input, you just convert that input as upper. So it will just get the value. If the user enters a smaller P or an upper P, it will still convert and it will work. That's your question. That's how you do that.
So do you have to put upper and then parentheses?
And no, it's like if it's a string, then it's like dot upper. Let me like this dot upper kind of. Sorry. Let me do that. Okay, I gave a lower P, but the system now converted it to upper P, and then it is searching here. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the next one. So I think we are kind of running behind. So we are going to talk about 2D list. Where is my screenshot? So we talked about item filtering and everything. So two-dimensional list. So far what we have seen, right? So what we have seen is all a single okay, Vasha. Vasha, is that a question or you have the answer correct there?
No, I just copy pasted what I got.
Okay, you're good, right? You're all good?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay. So we are going to talk now about multidimensional list. Okay. So whatever we saw is like a flat, like a one, which has got like only one row of list. So in Python, you could store a multidimensional list or a two-dimensional list. Okay. So meaning it will have a list inside of a list, and it can be like a row, a column kind of thing. So those are called as two-dimensional list. Okay. So a list inside another list, it will be a two-dimensional list. I'll just show you first an example, then we will talk about it a bit detail. Okay, I want to just show you first how it looks, so you guys can visualize what I'm going to talk about. So this example, right, student equal to Joe, Kim, Sam, Sue, Kelly. So if you take this is all a list within a list. Okay, so this Joe, Kim is a list, Sam, Sue is a list, Kelly, Chris is a list, and they are all part of a list called students. Okay. So how this list is stored and like how you have to visualize this list is like this. So this is like it's like a two-dimensional list. So there's a 3 rows and like 2 columns here. Okay, so on the first row, Joe and Kim is stored like this. Then in second row or the row number 1, it's like Sam, Sue, and on row 2, it's Kelly and Chris. So this is how this value is interpreted. Okay, let me show you in Colab. So I think you guys can follow better. So what did I say? So if I create like this, so only Joe, comma, right? So this is one list. So then I have one more. They are like what? Sam and Sue. It's one more list. Then I have one more list. Kelly, comma, Chris. So now they're all separated by a list. Comma, and now they are part of a list. Let's take this example. Okay. So in this example, if you see, so the line 1, right? So the students, this line 1 has 3 elements. So this is one element, this is one element, and this is one element. So remember I told you a list can be like this. As far as list is concerned, it's like this 1, 2, 3, right? So now this is an element, This is an element and this is an element. This element can be in another list and this element can be in another list, right? So following that concept, so now I'm telling I have students list in which all are lists. So first element is list, second element is another list, and third element is in another list. Okay. So now if I simply print, okay, if I simply print students, I don't like this. I just keep it short, okay? Yes. So if I print yes of 0, what will you see? So if you print this s of 0, you will print the first element. If you print s of 1, it will print the second element. Print s of 2, it will print the third element. Okay, so it's not similar to this. So when I tell 1, 2, 3, when you print, it prints 1, 2, 3. But in this case, since it's again an element, it's again a list, it's printing the whole list. Okay, so this is how this whole list is accessed. Now, what if you have to reach and print Joey and Kim separately? If you have to find out, if you have to print Joe. So now you're talking about multi-dimensional list. So you access this first level of element through this. If I have to reach the first element in the list of this list, so now what you do is print yes. So I'm telling go on the first list. Okay, so this is the list. On the first list, print me the first element. So now you see Joe. So now this the index value, how you address the list changes. So let me explain again, okay? So this is the students list. So in this, every list is another list, okay? So making it a multi-dimensional list, okay? So when you print s of 0, it just prints whatever is in this element, right? So this element is again a list. So you see Joe and Kim printed. So if you want to access this element, you just tell s of 0 and this is s of 1 and this is s of 2. So if you have to access this additional elements inside of this list, you have to go one level down. So you are telling, so in s of 0, print the 0th index or the first element. So in 0th row, print me the first column. You could also tell like that. Okay. So in first row or the first, print me the second. So it's like this is the rows and this is the columns. So that's how you print it. Whatever. It had only two. Sorry. We have only two columns. So you address Joe and you address Kim. Now if you have to reach Sam or Sue, so now you have to go like this. So print. So this is 0. So this is 1, right? So you give the first value as 1. And in 1, you need Sam. So it is nothing but 0. So if you have to reach Sue, you have to print 1, 1. So that's how you access the multidimensional list. Any questions? So now you could see with this. So this diagram is here, right? I'm just trying to show. So what it means is, if you see, so 0, 0, 1, 0, so it's like row 0, column 0, row 0, column 1. So this is how it's getting stored. If you visualize, it's not necessarily like this, but if you visualize, this is how a nested list stores the values in its, as all the elements in its list. Any questions? How this list is, how you access it? Or clear? Are you guys able to follow?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to make sure because we are going to proceed further based on this concept of like how this row and column works. Okay. So let me continue. So to recap, so list inside a list is called as nested list, or it can also be called as two-dimensional list. So it's very for an easy understanding, you remember that as like a rows and columns. The first element inside the first list is row 0, 0, then 0, 1. Then the second element is like 1, 0, 1, 1. Then the third is like 2, 0, 2, 1. So that's how you go on. If it's a three-dimensional array, it will be like what? 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 3. So you go on like that. So based on how many rows and how many columns it has, this dimension of it, this row column will vary, but the concept is the same. So when are these useful? Like when do we use this two-dimensional list? Okay, so they are useful when we are working with a multiple set of data. Like we have so much data for one category that you group it together. So the best example is like your students list, right? So you have like, say you have like 3 students in a class. Let's keep it simple, okay? You have 3 students in a class, and each of you is taking 3 exams in a course. Okay, so for every student, there is 3 scores, and there is totally 3 students in a class. So this whole list, so this whole thing will vary as like this. Okay, this is how this list will look like now. Okay, so this is the row 0 is for the student 1. So for the student 1, I'll have 3 columns, which is nothing but score. This is score 1, score 2, score 3. For the second student, I'll have score 0, score 1, score 2. For the third student, I'll have score 0, score 1, and score 2, or like 1, 2, 3, however you call it. So now you see a multi-dimensional list here. So this is very useful. How? Because in a conventional method, how would you store it? You will have to create different variable for all the students, and for each student, you have to you have to maintain 3 more variables. So you're going to maintain like what? Almost like 9 variables in your processing logic. Here, you're just going to create one list called student, and the whole student will have 3 different lists, and each of the lists will have 3 score sheets. So let's see it in Colab how it is. Okay. Like I said, I have 3 students and 3 scores for each of the student.
Oh, I have something to say. So the reason why we're able to like place 3 scores for each student is because a list can hold any type of element, correct?
Correct. A list can hold any type of element. It can hold a list inside of it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm gonna tell score, right? So students. I'm going to tell student. So let's say this is 0, 0, 0, sorry, 0, 0. So this is for the first student score sheet. Then this is the second student scores. And this is the third student scores. So now I make it a whole big list. So now there is 3 students, and for each 3 students, we have like what? 3 scores. Okay. This is for student 1, this is student 2, this is student 3, and for each student, this is scores. This is how you create a 3-dimensional, a 2-dimensional list, but it has like 3 rows and 3 columns. You always call it 2-dimensional or multi-dimensional, no matter what it has, how many rows or columns. Okay, so these are rows and columns. So how would you address now as score? How? Sorry, not score. Why am I telling score? Student of 0, 0. So if you want to assign value for this element, I'm telling for the first one, assign 100 marks. For the for the first student, for the first mark, assign 100. For the first student, second mark is 150. And for the same student, I'm keeping the 0 as it is, right? So we are talking about the same student. So for this, assign 50. So I'm just telling that. So now if you print students, what did I do wrong? think I'm assigning the wrong one. Okay. It's not a comma, right? I'm using a comma because the programming that I work uses comma as a syntax. Okay, so that's why the syntax errors. So sorry, guys. So Python uses this format to address the indexes, whereas there's another program that uses 0, 1, 0, 2. So that's way to address the same arrays. So okay, so whatever value I've assigned, it just gets assigned here. I think I did not give the. So now I've got this score for first student. So similarly, you could get this, you could update the score for the second students like this. So now we are talking about this element, right? This element is 1. So you just go and give 1. Now if you print, so even now this person has the score. Okay, so I'm just directly assigning it here. You could also do it using a loop, right? You could get the value from the user and you could ask him to enter, and then you could assign it. So how do you do that? So in normal list, how do? You assign a value called index, correct? You tell index equal to 0, 1, 2, and then you loop through. So in this case, what happens? How would you loop through is you need to loop through twice, because you have to loop through once for the row and you'll have to loop through once for the column. Let's see what I'm talking about. Okay, so now I have this list students. So what I tell is for, let's call it as row and column. Okay, for row in how much should I give? For row in range of it has only 3, right? So let me give 3. Okay, oops, I just tell 3 for row 3. Will it work? So now if you see, this row proceeds for 0, 1, 2. Okay, so it will go through 0, 1, and 2. Okay, if I print this, you will just see all the indexes. It will print 0, 0, 0. So it's printing like this. Let's keep different names so you guys can see what list it's printing.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
When does a class end?
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Am I past it? No, right? Okay, so let's have it. So this is the number. So now it's accessing this list. Okay, so when I do this, the program is able to go and access this whole list as it is 1, 2, 3. Now I want to access this number 1. So what you do is you have to again loop through. So for row in range 3, you have to again. Now let's say column. For column in range 3, what happens? Print students. So how would you print now? So first you are gonna tell the row, then you have to tell the column, right? So for you to read this particular element, you have to illustrate both the row and the column list here. Okay, so what happens is, so for row in range 3, so first time the element picked 1, 2, 3. I'm just printing here so you guys can see 1, 2, 3. Now for each of this column, for column in range 3, now I'm looping through this list and printing it. So student row of column is, it's nothing but the first time it printed 0, 1, then first time it printed 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. So it printed. Now this inner loop exited. Now it went to the next element. The next element is this 4, 4, 5. So it went to this 4, 4, 5 element. Then again in that element, I said iterate again. So now it iterates through this element and then it prints 4, 4, and 5. So once it is done, it exits. Then it picks the next element, which is nothing but 755. And I'm saying in 755 for column in range 3. So go and for each of this element inside this list, print it. So which is nothing but 753. So this row column gives me this value of this range, like how I tell 0, 0, 0, 1. So this whatever I did manually, that happens in this both of this for statements. So this controls the row and this controls the column indexes. Any question? Okay, cool. I'm just thinking. So this is also called as outer loop, and this is also called as inner loop. So if you see any what do you call, any materials, right? So they'll refer this as outer loop. This is the inner loop. For each time of this outer loop gets executed, this inner loop gets executed. Okay. So if it has 3 elements and if it has 3 elements, for each of this element, this gets executed twice. Okay. Okay. Any other question we have before I move forward? Okay. I'll take it as a no. So I'll just show you now. Yes, go ahead.
Scroll up for 1 minute.
Mm-hmm. Hello. Yes.
Oh no, I just wanted to see as I was writing it down.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I have a question as well.
Sure.
So when it says for column in range, is that why the numbers are like vertical and not horizontal in the output?
In the output? Yes, because
Yeah, so like
here, right? I'm addressing the element. I'm telling print students, row, and column. I'm giving the exact position of this. So here I'm just giving the whole element 1, 2, 3, right? I'm not giving the inner loop. I'm not giving the inner index number. I just address the outer index number. I just address it as row. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. Okay. So when I said student of row, it addressed it horizontally. It just printed the whole list. Okay. Horizontal versus vertical. This is a list, whereas this is the element. Okay. Here I'm printing the list. Here I'm printing the element.
okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. So we are trying to reach the element inside of the list. So that's why row and column.
So for one of the problem that you were doing, instead of 3, could you put len?
Okay. 1 second. Here. Oh, oops, sorry. Okay. Where?
For 3, like for row in range, for the part where it says 3, could you put len? And would it work? And
Just length?
no, len students.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So it goes for whole length. But here, right, what should you do? Will you give length of students, or should you give length of
row?
Student of row, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now it will go through this list. Did I put all the comma colons correctly?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's the same. Good. So just for your understanding, to keep it easy, I did that. And if you don't know, or if you want that to automatically iterate, you could do this too. Okay. Okay, so let me continue. So we already saw how to create this list, right? So I'll just quickly show, like a list can be any format like that, right? It can be like this, 1, 2, then it can be 3, 4, 5, then it can be 3, then it can be Q, then it can be R, yes. So a list can be like this also, right? So list can have any number of elements, and that element can be an another list. So this, it can be an another sub list too. Just to differentiate, you can call this as a sub list. Okay. So if for now if you have to reach your if I say, like, I want you to print 3, 4, 5, how do you do that? Same concept, whatever we studied so far, it's how you print it. So L of what it is, 0, 1, 2. So it's 2. So this L of 2 will print this element. So if we have to print the first element inside of that list, inside of the sub list that we did, then you will tell print me the first of this. So it will print 3. Okay. So if you want to print, say for example, if you want to print this list, it will be print L of, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5th element. Okay. So what if the list, the sub list has another list? Okay. So now I said R, yes. So now in this I have a third element T. Okay. So what if the T is an another list in itself? Okay. So I'm going to have T, U, T. Where am I missing? RST. Just a second, guys. Okay, R is here. Okay, so what happens now? I'm telling this is a list, and this is a list, and this whole is a list, and inside of that I have another list. Okay, are you guys getting the example here? So there is a sublist within a sublist of a list. Okay, there is like 3 levels down. So now I want you to print T. How do you do that? Okay, so let's see, when in doubt, right? Just go iterate through and you see how it comes. So as you go, you would learn. Okay. So here, this is the last element, right? So you just talk about 0, 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. So this is the whole of this is 5, right? So your first element is 5. Understood? So you're talking about the 5th row here. Okay. So inside the 5th row, you want to print this, you want to print the T, right? So now what you do is, this is the 0th element, this is the first element, and this is the second element. So now you tell print the second element. So what happened? It printed this sublist, which is nothing but TUV. Now I wanna go one level further down. I want to access this T. How do I do that? Now I give a 0 on it. So I print the T. So based on how many levels you want to go, you just start addressing the indexes one by one. So this is the first element of the list, then the sublist, then the sublist. So you get TU. Okay.
I want to just clarify. So if so the 5 represents the list TUV, correct?
Yes, this whole
And then
list.
the two represents the I don't know what the 2 represents here.
Okay, let me tell you that. So let's print the 5 again. Let's go one level back. Okay. So what happened?
Brackets.
So we are going L5. Okay. So now I got this whole list. Okay. So now I need to print. Let me write it first. Oh gosh. 5. Okay. So now inside of this 5, my T is here, right? So generally, how would you go? You would take 0, 1, 2, right? This is the whole list is the second element, correct?
Yeah. Oh, so 2 is not just T. It's just
no. 2 is for this. In here, let's say if I have this list like this, okay. Let's say I have another value here. Okay. So now see 5, 2. So now it's 0, 1, 2, and this is third element, correct? So now I have, if I do 2, I'm getting X. Only if I give 3, I'll get the third element, which is TUV.
Okay. And then in that third element, you want the 0 element. That's why it's T, correct?
Yeah, I want the 0th element. That's why it's T.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, if I need this V, I have to tell 0, 1, and 2. So you address it as 2. Okay, so you navigate like that.
I also have another question. Where would I be able to access this notebook that you're writing all the examples in?
So these examples that I have shown you, most of them are there in lectures note. I've ensured that I have added these examples in there. Okay, and I would see how to share. I have this, right. The whole problem is in this collab, right. I'll try and share this link. I'll look and see how to do that. But 90% of whatever we have shown, what I have shown you today, is there in the lecture notes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Numbers would change. I could not use the same numbers, but the concept is there.
Yeah.
It's something, but it's everything is there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Tess. So you're clear about how this L of 5, 3, 2 comes, right? Any other questions? If there is no question, then you remember how can you let's go back to the original list, right? So you could access an element of by using the index, or you could also use it in the negative indexing too, right? You could use it from the last as well. Remember? So the same applies here. The same concept applies here too. You could tell the negative numbers. You could address this whole list using the negative numbers as well. So how to do that? We'll see. Okay. So print L of. Okay. So now I'm talking about the first element. So from the end, this is what? -1, correct? So this element is -1. So when I tell -1, it will print me this value. So now in this -1 element, I want this element. So this is again the last element in the list, right? So I'll tell -1 again. So it is going here. So say now, okay, I'll finish this first. So now I have, okay. Yes, Nadhiya, what's the question?
So this thing, what would you use it like for? What real world problems would you use this for?
If you have like I said, right, like here you have all these scores and everything, right? You said here I use, right? So students, right? You have all the students sheet. Here you are going through and looping and finding out every element, right? So how did you go through that? So you loop through each score of each student, and then you got the value of each of the score, and then you updated it, right? So in real world, we use list so much because you could store all the values in one place. It's like an array in other languages. So here we call it as list, and we can store multiple type of element and multiple level of elements in the same list. So this is going to be mostly used. We are going to learn more and more on this. This is basic concept. We will build on top of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
but when do you like use negative numbers?
You don't have to say if you have 1,000 elements, right? If you have to access the last element, then you use negative, right? It'll be easier to use it as negative from the end. It's up to you. Like you don't have to do length -1 and all, right? If you have to go from the beginning, you have to do length -1, then length -2. So you can do that, or you could do this. You could say I need third element from the end. So you just tell -3. You are done. They are giving you two ways of addressing it, just to put it in a plain and simple way, right? So there is always two ways to go for it. So based on your call, based on your need, you can choose whichever you want to choose.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So you do this, then again it is -1. So now next element is what? I want to access u. So what it is? So it will be like -1, and this is -2. So you will print the u now. So this is how you go from the beginning, and this is how you go from the back. But no matter whatever index you specify, that is what it's going to get referenced. So this is the first index and the second column, and the next column onwards. Okay. So similar to the whole list that we saw in the other class, right? You could change, you could add, you could remove elements. You could do that. You could do all the operations here, but you have to make sure you are giving the correct index number. That's why I'm telling how to you understand the concept of index, how to address these indexes. Okay. So say I have to change this value from P to Q, you could do that. You just tell which index it is and then change the value. Okay, let me show a quick example. So let's say I have an index like this. Okay, so it's 0, 1, and 2. So now I'm telling change the value of first index to. Change is easy, right? You just give the index number until change the value to 1. That's it. It will happen, right? Because print here. So this is easy. So it will just happen like that. So if we have to change this value, what would you give? So it's the first element, and then in the first element, it's the first value. So I just tell that, sorry, in the first element, it's the 0th value. So now BB is changed to 1. So you just specify which index you are changing and change the value. Very simple, okay? So how you address is depending on the list. If there is a sub list, you have to specify this row column as an index value. Okay. Similarly, you can add an item to this list. Say I have this value here. So how do you add it? You just similar to if you have to add to this list L, you just tell L dot append X. Okay. What happened? Oh, please. So it's very easy. If you have to add index, if you have to add an element to the very the first level of index, you just tell L dot appendix. But if you have to add an element to this sub list, you have to tell, you have to give the index, you have to go address that index. So that is nothing but the first element. Now I'm telling for this first element, now do an appendix. So it I did not print it. So now it addressed this list. So now this sub list is in here, and then it's doing the append of X here. So now you see this inside sub list is also has a value X. That's how you append or add value to the list. So similarly, you could do insert, you could do remove and everything. So the format is the same, but you have to make sure the sub list is addressed correctly using the index. So this is add. Let me show you insert. So these are all syntax guys. So this might sound very vague or like very confusing at times, but as you use it, like as you see it and as you type and as you continue to use it, you will get a hang of it. So just hang on, okay? Don't get too much confused. So what is the insert syntax? So L dot insert, then you tell which index you want to add, and you tell this value. Correct. So now if I tell like this, so if I tell like this, now an XX is added at the 0th index. Now if I have to add it at this index, what I tell? I just have to tell 0. This is first element. So I have to give that index here. I have to give that a list index here. Okay. So now XX is added in this list. Same concept. So how you address, the moment your cursor is here, your job will, your statement will get executed. How you get there is this concept. So how you navigate from one level down and until the final level is reached. That's how you navigate. Once you know what number is, once you know what the address of this list is, then it's pretty much the same. Any list that you do, the operations that you do in the plain old list is the same here too. Okay. So similarly, remove will do it. So if I tell del L of 1, 2, enter. Okay. So the C is now gone. So in original, you'll just give only one value. Now, since we have sublist in it, you give one more value here. So del remove. Okay. So the last is if you have to find the length of the list. Okay. So in general, how would you do? Print length of L, right? So this would give you the list value. So now it says 3 elements because this is 0, 1, and 2. If I add one more like this too, add like this, now it's going to tell 4 elements because this is each in list. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I have to know what is the length of this list, what do you tell? I just tell length of, so 0, 1. If I tell 1, it will tell me in this index there is, in this sublist there is 2 elements. Okay. Similarly, if I tell 0, 1, 2, and 3, so in the third list, how many elements do I have? I have 3 elements. So that's how you find length of a nested list or a sublist. Okay. So we already saw how to iterate, right? So for row in first outer loop, then for row in inner loop, you get this elements. That's how you iterate it. I can show that and we could wrap up. Okay. So let's say I have list like this. I just tell for list in L. Okay. I'm telling for each number in L. Then for number in list. Okay. So for each list, for every list that I access in this outer loop, execute this again. Now it's gonna loop through this inner list and then print what? Print just print a number. You can print whatever you want to. We'll just print a number. So this loops, and now for every time this outer loop executed, this inner loop executes and prints 1, 2, 3. Then it goes for this element, prints 4, 5, 6, then 7, 8, 9. So that's how you loop through the list. After you loop through, what you do here is, we have seen so many examples of what all we can do. But this is how you loop through outer list and inner list. Okay. Any questions? So we have learned about 2-dimensional list. Any questions, guys? All good? Okay, I have some questions on chat, I think. Let me... Okay, guys. So if that is all and no other questions, then we are all good. So we have the homework uploaded in the material. You guys want to see the homework questions once?
Yes.
Okay. Let me open it. Okay.
Can you share this collab?
Yes, I will. Okay. Like I said, all these examples are there in the lecture notes, but I'll share this collapse. I'll just make it as shared and I'll send it as a message or something. Okay. I'll email you guys. Okay. So this is your homework for this week. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So the first one is we are going to calculate test average and grade. Okay. So we are going to ask the user to enter 3 test scores for each of 4 students. And we are going to do a data validation, like the score cannot be negative or more than 400. Then I want you to calculate the average and display the letter grade based on this list. So you could do this without list too, or you could do with list. I'm okay with anything, but this you can do the traditional one, like the one that I showed in the very beginning of the class. I'm okay with that, okay? If you do it, if you try it out with list, that's fine and well, but if you're not doing with this, that's okay too, for problem number 1. Okay? Simple. I need you to get the score, then I need you to calculate the average, then based on the average, display the grades. Okay? Okay, I take it as an S. The second question is like, we have a sample list here. I want you to split the list by 4 for every 4th element. So if this is the input, I want the input to be like this. So I want the list to be split at every 4th element. Okay, you can take whatever list you want to take, but the output should be in this format. Then the third question is, say we have this list. I need you to find sum of all the elements in this list. Yes, Sugita.
But for number 2 in the expected output, isn't it split by like 5 for the first 2?
Every 4th element, I think what I meant is like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh.
Okay, so, or should I still index equal to 4? Okay, so I want up until 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. Okay, or this 5th element makes, okay. So I'm giving you both the statements there. Okay, third one, I just need you to find the sum of all these elements in this list. Then 4th one, take any 2-dimensional arrays like 4 rows and 4 columns. It can be whatever you choose, just choose it. And I want you to print the original value, like print the whole list as it is. Then the 4B is, I want you to change the diagonal to 1 and anything above it to be 0 and anything below it to be 2. Like it's very hard to explain, so I need this output to be like this. So you could take a 4x4 array like this and have an initial value anything, but you have to manipulate it in such a way that once you print it, it should be like 1, 1, 1, and all of it above is 0 and all of it below the diagonal is 2. Okay. So remember that row column matrix, and that's it. Once you have that row column matrix, you know how to figure it out.
Can't your initial array be the same as the output?
No, come on. Then it voids the whole purpose, right? I need you to choose a different one. Okay. I want you to print the value as it is first. Then I want you to change it to ones and zeros and choose. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I was just joking.
Yeah, that would be easy, right? Then there's no point in having homework. Come on. Okay. Here.
Yes.
Okay, I think, okay. So the same rules as homework submission. So I want you to submit like we have talked about in the very beginning. Please submit your code, your output and the collab link in the Word document, convert it as PDF, then upload it. Okay, don't use Google Doc, please use Microsoft Word and select appropriate session and then upload it. Okay, so this date is wrong. So the homeworks are due next Tuesday, and it is September 21st. Okay.
Oh wait, I have a quick question for the session 2 homework. I did a Google Doc and converted it to a PDF. So would that not work? Or?
What happens is like when you do Google Doc and convert, it converts as an image. Okay, the output becomes the whole whatever you convert, it's coming as an image like a PGF file or a JPEG file. It's not a Word document.
We can choose if
to PDF.
You can choose to PDF, but inside that PDF, the whole Word document that you're attaching, it's converting as an image, like an attachment image.
For that, I think for what I did, because if I was copying the text, it was copying. I copied and pasted from Collab into the document. So it pasted just like that, and then I printed download as PDF.
Okay,
So for me it worked.
Okay, I think for some persons, I don't know who it is, but it was just coming as okay. Whatever you do, but make sure it is like a text like this. Okay, at the end in the PDF, it should be a text. Okay, it should not be an image or anything. So it's up to you guys. If it's working for you in Google Doc, it's well and good. If not, please use Microsoft Word.
Yeah. One thing for Google Docs for mine, the when the text it's surrounded by like this black thing because I had it on dark mode in collab, so I can take that out. But behind the text there was like this black box because it was highlighted black.
Okay. Here, you mean like when you copy from here?
Yeah.
Okay. So you figured it out how to do that?
Yeah, you can still read it though, but I can take it out from you.
That's okay. As long as it's readable, as long as it's like it's text format, I'm good, guys. Okay. Background is okay. Coloring is okay. Okay. Okay, that's all I have. If there are no other questions, then we could wrap up the class. And thank you all for joining today's session. See you in 2 weeks. And please try and practice what we studied today. That would be helpful. Okay.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you have any questions, you can email info@agoramastercode.org or comment below and we'll reply back. Maybe. And if you want to see practice things or anything about us, you can visit our website, which is basically the end of the email but without the info and the end. So bye!